Hi, my name's Eddie and I'm one of the moderators on the Facebook group for Mythic Fantasy role-playing game, and in this video I'm going to run a combat test between a level 1 Beserk and a large game creature which could be interpreted as a Megaloceros. The purpose of this video is because on the Facebook group we have, which I'll provide a link to in the video, we were talking about if we think the large game creatures have, if they have too many hit points. Currently they have 70 hit points, and this was proposed by Ian Christensen, which I'm sure many of you will know if you've been involved in the MYFAROG community for the past year and a half. And in the end we came to the conclusion that, you know, it seems like it's like 70 hit points for a large game creature is fair enough, because they weigh up to 1,000 pounds or possibly even more, up to 1,500 pounds. So yeah, it makes sense that they have such a great amount of hit points as they do. Would it be possible though for a level 1 character to take down a large game creature such as a Megaloceros? Well, that's what we're going to find out in this video, and I'm using MYFAROG version 2.6, and I also have a copy of the supplement here. So I'll tell you about a little bit about this level 1 Beserk. His name is Garmson, which could be something like son of the Great Hound, something like that. He's a Beserk with 18 hit points, 9 stamina. He's got 2 short battle axes and they cause D8 damage. His melee offensive value is +4, melee defensive value of +13, 14 when he can dodge. His talent is the fighter talent, which allows him to attack twice per round if he wishes, at least, well, more than once. He's got, well, a couple of his attributes here. He's got strength of 16, will of 16, dex of 15. So that's Garmson. He will be charging into the combat fray, and he's against a large game. You can find the stats there on page 110 and 111 of the MYFAROG 2.6 book. And just some notes about this Megaloceros. It's got a +8 size, which is going to make it really difficult to stun in combat. Physical of +1, so it will always absorb at least 1 damage. So if I do 10 damage, it will receive 9 instead. +4 acrobatics, and a fright mod of +2. Melee offensive value of +4, defensive melee of +12, 14 with dodge, damage D4, and HP of 17. So you just imagine a scenario. My Beserk is looking for some blood, for some runes. Comes to a plain after walking through a woodland for an hour, and he sees this huge Megaloceros, and he wants to try and take it down by himself. So he's going to charge into the fray. Now charging gives you a +D4 damage and a +2 to your OV for that round, and a -2 to your DV for that round. But there are a few things which happen before my Beserk can charge straight into the fray. So we need to take those things into account. So the first thing would be to check morale. So I'm going to check the morale of both my Beserk and of the Megaloceros, because there's a chance that the Megaloceros will see this Beserk wielding 2 axes and will just leg it. That could happen. Or it might stand its ground, it might become nervous. So the fright mod of the Megaloceros is a +2, so I'll add that to my Beserk's roll. He's got a will of 16, so in total he will get a +4 to this roll. Let's see what I get. So we get a 13 on the dice, takes it to a 17, so he's completely fine. The Megaloceros, let's see what I get. He gets a 9 on the dice, -2 for the fright mod, So he's going to be 7. So he's going to be nervous. He's going to stand his ground, but he's going to be nervous for 3 rounds. So he's going to -1 to any checks there. Alright, so my Beserk charges in. Next thing I need to do, I've done morale, declared my action. Falling. There's a chance that he might fall. So that'll be a DD of 6 on 3d6. He's got dexterity of 15, so I get a +1. Let's see what I get. That's a pretty good roll. That's a 15, so he's completely fine. So he doesn't fall over as he's charging. It could happen. He's charging from, let's say, 30 feet of distance. And the Megaloceros has +4 acrobatics, so the chances of it falling over are extremely low. Let's roll anyway. No, 15 on the dice. So they're both check for falling, and they're both fine. Now, I'm not going to do the random movement for this one in particular. Initiative, well, my Beserk's charging, and of course the Megaloceros doesn't have a long-ranged weapon or anything like that, so my Beserk will go first. So he's charging, and he can do 1 hit here. Normally I've got an OV of +4. For this I'll get a +2 to my OV, so we get a +6 here. And the Megaloceros has a melee defensive value of 12 and 14 with dodge. Okay, so it's going to be pretty difficult to get a perfect hit, which is what I'm aiming for. That would be a 10 over the target's DV. Its DV will actually now be 13, I think, just because of it being nervous. So let's see what I get on the dice first of all. Not too bad. So I get a 14 on the dice. So that's going to be a total of 20 there. Let's work out the Megaloceros' DV now. It has a total of 13. So I'm 7 over its DV, which gives me a very good hit, which will be damage +4. Okay, so I get D8 damage for the battle axes, get an extra D4 for the charge, and I get an extra 4 for the the very good hits. Let's see what we get here. Probably should have got my dice out earlier, but alright. Okay, let's roll a D8. So that's a 6. D4 here is 3, and then +4. So that means I get a grand total of 13. It's not quite good enough to get a roll on the critical injury chart. I needed to get 17, which is 4 under there. Not too far away. So let's see what happens next. The Megaloceros has a physical +1, so that means I do a total of 12 damage. That takes it down to 58 HP. That's right. Now I'm going to roll for cutting shock at least, and see if we get anything from that. So I do 12 damage. So that's going to be half 6, and let's see what we get here. So it's a 12 on the dice. Take away 6 from that, and that will be a total of 6, because the cut effect of the short battle axe is a +0. So that basically just gives the a light bleeding wound to the Megaloceros. Nothing too great to worry about right there. Shock. This is going to be pretty difficult to shock it because there's a +8 because of its size. Did 6 damage, so it's going to get a +2 to the roll. Let's roll anyway. And that's a 13 on the dice, 15, so it's not shocked. I did damage to the Megaloceros. I'm going to roll for a morale check now, and let's see what happens. Alright, so that is a 14 on the dice, so it's going to stand its ground. and it's going to strike back at my my Beserk, and my Beserk will get a -2 to its DV full of charge. So my Beserk didn't really do enough in this first round, so he could be in trouble now. Let's see what happens. So the Megaloceros will attack. I get a on the dice, that is an 8, plus its OV of 4, so 12. My Beserk has a melee DV of, sorry, that'll be an 11 because it's nervous to remember these things. My Beserk has a melee defensive value of 14, taken down to 12 because of the charge, which means that the Megaloceros missed, just missed, almost caught the Beserk but didn't. Now, next round, the Megaloceros will attack first because it has a +8 to its initiative roll because of its size. I don't have anything enough to warrant a counter rolling on that dice because I just have a +1 to my dex, so there's no chance that I'm going to actually beat its score. So again, the Megaloceros will attack. Gets an 8, so that's going to be a miss. My Beserk, he's just going to do a normal attack, so he will have a +4 to this, and that is a total of 10 on the dice, a +4, so 14. The Megaloceros has a total of 14, 13, so I get a hit basically. So it's going to be D8 damage. That's a 4. Let's take it down to 3 because of the light bleeding. Sorry, because of its physical toughness, I should say. So it now has 55 HP. Now, my Beserk lost 2 stamina from its initial charge, and he lost a further 1 from this round of attacking. The large game has a stamina of, let's find, 8, so it doesn't quite have as much stamina as my Beserk. So yeah, so I've done 3 damage there. We're going to halve that, round it down for the cut rolls. That's going to be take away 1 from this. Let's see what happens. Get a 10, goes down to a 9, so it gets another light bleeding wound. Not really enough to change this combat so far. Shock, it's going to be a +7. Get a 12 on the dice, so yeah, there's no chance of getting it off its feet from that hit. Forgot to roll a roll to see if you stay on your feet. So yeah, that's something to learn from. It's quite a few things to think about in combat in MYFAROG, bearing in mind it is an optional rule, so if you do miss it out, you forget about it for 1 round, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if you want to do it 100% by the book, then yeah, try and include it every round. Next round, so the Megaloceros is now down to 5 stamina. It's going to attack. It's a 9 on the dice, takes it to 13, 12 because it's nervous. Again, that's not enough to beat my Beserk's defense. My Beserk's going to hit back. That's a nice roll. That's a 16, 20 with a +4, which is basically what I got when I charged. The Megaloceros has DV is at 13, so that's a very good hit. Damage +4. So to roll my D8, see what happens. 4, 8. So it's again, it's got 55 HP now. That's still not enough to do to take off a quarter of its total HP of 55 for now. So do 8 damage from 55, let's take it down to 47. So I've done 23 hit points of damage so far. It's got a light bleeding wound, but it loses 1 HP every hour from those. That's not enough at the moment. So done 8 damage. That's going to be let's roll for cut. It's going to be a -4 from this roll. So that's a 7. So that's another light bleeding wound. So this creature's got 3 light bleeding wounds now, still on his feet. Let's roll for shock. We're going to add 4 to this roll because it's got +8 for size. And well, this time I've stunned it, I think. No, I haven't. Ignore me. No, that's 11 on the dice, 15. Again, not enough to stun it. It's lost HP again, so I'm going to make a morale check. So it's 7. Again, it's nervous for another 3 rounds. Okay. Next round. Megaloceros comes back. Attacks. Gets 12 on the dice. Take that to 11 because it's nervous. +4, 15. So that beats my Beserk's defense by 1. So that's basically a hit. Does D4 damage. That's a total of 3. My Beserk absorbs 1 of that because of its fur shirt. So he's now down to 16 hit points. Let's roll for cut and shock. See what happens. 15 on the dice, so it's not cut. And 12 on the dice for shock, so he's not shocked. It's not stunned or anything, so he's quite lucky. He's lost HP, going to make a morale check. 15 on the dice, he's going to stay in and keep on fighting. Round 4, let's see what goes on now. Megaloceros, no, it's my Beserk's chance to hit back, sorry. 6 on the dice, nothing. Next round, Megaloceros comes back in. It's a 13, so another decent roll there. Take that down to a 12 because it's nervous. Total 16. Beats my Beserk's defense by 2, so that's another hit. Let's roll for damage. This time it does 4 damage, so my Beserk's going to lose 3 hit points, so he's down to 13 now. It's going to be -1 to the cut roll here. And yeah, he's got a light bleeding wound. Let's check for shock. And it looks like he's stunned. 7 on the dice, so yeah, he is stunned, he cannot attack. He gets a -2 DV for 1 round. So, not too good. Not looking good for my Beserk. So this time he's lost more HP, gonna roll for morale. With the add-ons, he's actually fine. So yeah, no problems there. Got an 8 on the dice, by the way. So he can't attack back. He's just he's been stunned by this Megaloceros headbutting him, and he's just trying to regain his senses. Stumbles back a few feet, and the Megaloceros comes back in with another hit. Let's see what happens. That's an 11 on the dice. Take it down to 10. 14. Right. My Beserk, he has 14 defensive value, -2. That's a 12. So the Megaloceros gets another hit. It's going to be damage again. 2 damage. Take away 1 because of his fur shirt. So he's down to 12 now. Down to 12 from 18, by the way. Let's roll for cut. Let's take away 1 from this roll. That is a total of 9 minus 1, 8. So he's got another light bleeding wound. So he's got 2 light bleeding wounds now, which means if he does win the combat, if he does kill this Megaloceros, he's going to be in trouble. Eventually he will bleed out unless he's able to heal to stop the bleeding, or to find somebody willing to bandage up his wounds. He's got light bleeding. Let's roll for shock. Nothing now. He's going to roll for morale because he's lost. And again, he's fine. To regain his senses, he's going to attack back. Not great. 7, 11. It's not enough to beat the Megaloceros. Yeah, so these two are locked in combat. They're both bleeding. They've both got a few light bleeding wounds, but neither of them are giving an inch. Seems like they're going to fight to the death. Okay, the Megaloceros comes in now. He's down to 2 or 3 stamina. Gets it's a 10 on the dice, plus his 4, 14. Hits my Beserk square on the chin. That's going to be damage halved. So let's see what we get here. That's going to be 4, halved down to 2. I've got 1 AV, so my Beserk loses another hit point. He's down to 11. Cut coming up, minus 1. 12 on the dice, that's nothing. Shock, that's 14, so nothing there. Let's make a morale check. And again, the Beserk's fine. Okay, so the Beserk's going to come back now. And, oh, that's a nice roll. That is 17 on the dice, plus 4. That's going to be a 21. So that beats the Megaloceros' DV by a total of 8 this time. So that is an excellent hit. So that's going to be damage plus 6. Let's roll my D8. See what we get. That's a total of 4. So that's going to be 10 damage. Takes the Megaloceros down to 37 hit points. Let's roll for cut. Taking away 5 from this roll. That is 14, 9. So it gets another light bleeding wound. It's got 4 light bleeding wounds now. Shock, going to add 3 to this. And yeah, nothing again. So again, I had 47 hit points. I did 10 damage. If I'd done 12, it would have been enough to have rolled on the critical injury chart. You can see, I mean, creatures with large amounts of HP, it's really difficult to get such a good blow on them, which is going to turn the combat in your favour. So morale check for the Megaloceros. It's a 9 on the dice. Sorry, an 8 on the dice. We're going to take that down to 6. So it's nervous again for 5 rounds. So it's another minus 1 to its rolls. Okay, this is probably round 6 or 7 now. Megaloceros comes in, gets a total of 7 on the dice, take it up to 11 because of its plus 4. That's not enough to hit my Beserk. My Beserk comes back in, gets a total of 14 on the dice. No, 11 on the dice, sorry. So that will take it up to 15, which does beat the Megaloceros by 2. So that's a hit. D8 damage. 6 damage, not too bad. Takes it down to 31. Okay. So yeah, it's down to 31. Chances are now, if I can get another really good hit on it, I might be able to get a roll on that critical injury chart and maybe break a leg or something. Break one of its legs. Okay, 6 damage. Let's roll for cuts. Take away 3. Oh, Well, that's a 4 on the dice. So that takes it down to a -1, interestingly enough. Now it means cast a D12. Instant death if result is equal to or more than the target's size. Otherwise, it's a serious bleeding. So I'm going to roll my D12 now. And if I get an 8 or more, this will actually kill the Megaloceros outright. So we could just assume it would be like a blow to the throat or something good enough to finish it off. Well, let's roll now. I get an 8. So that's going to nicely finish this combat. The Megaloceros had 4 or 5 light bleeding wounds. It was getting really weak, really low on stamina. My Beserk had taken a bit of a battering as well, and he may even die as well because he's got a couple of light bleeding wounds. And he managed to kill this Megaloceros, raised up his 2 short battle axes and cut it at the throat, let's say, and this Megaloceros falls to the ground and bleeds out. So let's job over for now, at least. Anyway, the Megaloceros is down, but my Beserk's all by himself in this glade area. Nobody's around. 2 light bleeding wounds, so it's going to be just under an hour before he's going to start to lose 2 HP every round. He's got 11 HP, so he will bleed out unless he's able to stop the bleeding. So I'm going to roll for that now. Let's see what happens. He does have healing as a character role skill because he is a Beserk. So he's got bandages. So let's see. Performs healing on oneself, so that's going to be a -1 to this roll. He's got an int of +2, so I'm going to get just a +1 to this roll, I believe. Now, not going to take into account of the effect of a waning or waxing moon. So I'm going to roll 3d6 now, get a +1. So let's see if we can stop at least one of these bleeding wounds. So that is a 12, 13 on a dice. So that's just what I needed to reduce this one of those light bleeding wounds to stop it completely. So we can assume that maybe he got a bit of a nasty cut on the forearm, but he was able to patch it up successfully. But he's still got 1 light bleeding wound, and he's got just less than an hour now to maybe find somebody else who can heal this wound, or if he wants to try to heal it himself. Of course, the risk of healing it himself is he could make it worse, and then he surely would bleed out and die. So yeah, that's the end of this video. It went on a little bit longer than expected, but yeah, as you can see, it is possible for a soul level 1 Beserk to take down something like a large game, a Megaloceros. This video, give a like and subscribe if you did. And if you've not played MYFAROG before, or if you do play MYFAROG and you want to play more with people online, then check us out on our Facebook group, which is admin by Jeff and Will, and I'm one of the moderators there. And yeah, we'll be more than happy to get you into some games and answer any of your questions which you may have. I'll also provide a link to MYFAROG 2.6 and the Coming, which you can find on Amazon. Both are extremely good value for money, so you should definitely pick those up. And I'll see you in the next video. Farewell.